Skeptic? Skeptic? Skeptic, what are you doing here? We need to bust you out.
No, I volunteered to be in here. The world just isn't ready for skepticism. I'm too dangerous to be loose.
Don't be ridiculous. We need you. Mr. Repzion needs you.
The kid? Why?
It's really important. Trust me.
He's on vacation, isn't he?
Maybe.
Nope, go away.
Look, I have a really good video for you. It'll help you get out of your funk.
Suppose it's all true, and you walk up to the pearly gates and you are confronted by God. What will Stephen Fry say to him?
How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? Yes, the world is very splendid, but it also has in it insects whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind. Why did you do that to us? It's perfectly apparent that he is monstrous, utterly monstrous, and deserves no respect whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Stephen Fry is so eloquent. And here I was thinking that you were just gonna fuck with me and get me angry to trick me into breaking out of here.
And here I am, about to get into a debate, if not an argument, with him.
Sweet.
Now, Joseph Campbell, the cultural mythologist, said all religions are true in that the metaphor is true.
Starting right off the bat with nonsense. Bold move. Bold move. I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here and say this is probably one of those videos where you just ramble on and never really get to a point.
So what Campbell's saying there is that religion is an attempt to explain the unknowable in the same way that science is an attempt to explain the unknowable.
First of all, no, that doesn't sound anything like what he said. And second of all, science isn't trying to explain the unknowable like religion is. Religion tries to explain what happens after we die. Science will never touch that subject because to science that question is ridiculous. Science tries to figure out the knowable.
Science can explain the mechanics of the universe and can explain the mechanics of biology and anatomy, but can it ever explain the why? The answer is no, it can never explain why this is happening. What we all want to know is there a reason for us being here?
Actually, science does answer why, but you want something with meaning, right? Something with purpose, and no, science isn't going to come up with an answer like that. Really, what it comes down to is you don't like the answer that science has come up with.
And what is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of our consciousness?
Okay, Russell. Try to follow along, I'm going to try to speak quickly. The nature of the universe is protons, neutrons, electrons, particles, energy, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, gravity, the electromagnetic force, the Big Bang and everything that followed as a result. That is the nature of things. As for the nature of our consciousness, we have brains. The brains do it.
In the last few decades, there's been considerable discussion of a basic paradox in the construction of the universe as we know it.
I've had the original video of my response to Russell unlisted on my YouTube channel for over a year now, just so that I could put the video on my website. And for some reason, when I uploaded that video, and when I uploaded the special edition of this video to YouTube, this exact part of the video got hit for copyright every single time. And it doesn't make any sense. It says there's a song there, but there's no song. Russell's trying to make a case here for the unlikelihood that the universe would have created itself. He reads 3 examples from a book. The first example is that if the Big Bang were 1 part in a million more powerful, the universe would have expanded so fast that no galaxies could have formed, ergo no life could have formed. Second example, if the strong nuclear force were decreased by as little as 2%, then atomic nuclei could not bond with each other. Therefore, the only atom that could form in the universe would be hydrogen. And his third example If the gravitational force were decreased by just a hair, I don't know how much a hair is, then stars such as our sun could not ignite. These are 3 of more than 200 physical parameters in our universe that are so exact that it strains credulity to suggest that these are random factors, which modern physics boldly claims. Which isn't true. Modern physics just works under the assumption that they're random because we have no reason to believe that it's anything other than chance.
Terence McKenna, a kind of wacky shaman fella, said that the perspective of contemporary science is give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. That free miracle being that the universe sprang into being with these exact rules that are required for life and consciousness to exist.
These are arguments atheists have heard hundreds of times. Yes, the universe operates under very specific parameters, and if the universe didn't follow its exact rules that it follows, the universe wouldn't exist the way we know it. It's true, but the universe did turn out this way after all, and we have no reason to believe that that's for any other reason than chance. Who's to say we don't live in a multiverse and there is a universe that follows the rules that you just described perfectly, where there's nothing but hydrogen and no stars? The problem I have with your whole argument, though, is that you're suggesting that the universe is absolutely ripe for the picking for life to exist, and that's simply not true. 99.99+% of the universe is completely uninhabitable. In fact, our planet alone is uninhabitable to us, except for about 20% of it. Probably even less than that. Yes, it's like we won the lottery, but does that mean there's a God? Tell me it's impossible for that to happen on its own.
I suppose what Christianity and Islam and Judaism and Hinduism and Jainism and Buddhism are trying to do is make sense of our position, our perspective as awake, conscious, sentient beings within the infinite.
True enough, being a human is confusing, especially a human born into a world that has no science. But Russell, we have science now. We understand why we're conscious.
As a person who believes in God, my understanding of God is this, that my consciousness emanates from a perspective.
Yeah, you don't need to believe in God for that to work. I believe my consciousness emanates from a perspective of my body and senses. Do you know where I learned that? Science class!
And it passes through endless filters, the filters of the senses, the subjective filters of the senses and of my own biography. This is good, this is bad, this is wrong, I want that, I don't want that.
Yeah, I think your audience is well versed with senses. Russell, please get to the point.
But behind all of that, there is an awakeness, an awareness that sees it all. And it's in you too, and it's in Stephen Fry, and it's in the man that was interviewing him. It's in all of us.
Yes, Russell, it's called the brain.
An awakeness, an interconnectivity.
What now? What? Interconnectivity? As in, like, outside of our body to other bodies? You're really gonna have to explain that one. I want you to cite your sources on that one.
None of us can ever know if there is a God.
Right, so why did you name your video, Does God Exist? Yes?
But we do know there is an us.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Do you even need me here for this?
None of us can ever know if there's wrong or right.
Oh, the morality thing. Morality is pretty nebulous, but we can pretty much postulate that anything that's good for society, good for others, good for human life, good for ourselves, we can call that good. And things that are bad for society, bad for ourselves, bad for human life, we can call that bad. Ultimately, in the end, that doesn't matter, and I think that's the point you're trying to make, but, I mean, it doesn't mean right and wrong, good and bad doesn't exist at some level.
What do you think Jesus was then? I think he was a very good soul. He was an inspiration as a teacher. I do think a lot of the things he says are actually nonsense when you examine them. They seem very beautiful, but a bit like the Dalai Lama, they're actually twee and completely impractical. And in that sense, an insult to the human spirit. Like that him who is without sin cast the first stone. At first you think that's rather wonderful. Yes, what hypocrites. How could you possibly have a justice system? Nobody would ever go to prison.
For me, Fry's conclusion that we should abandon God to be free, I believe the opposite, that we should embrace God to be free.
The Christian God? Because he demands that we worship him, bend our knee, give our entire lives to him, spend eternity in his castle. That doesn't really sound like freedom to me.
Not embrace dogma, not embrace doctrine, but look, because within religion, even the most conventional religions, there's so many beautiful things.
Cherry pick. Right. Yes, if you cherry pick, you're favorite god from all the mishmash of other gods, yeah, you embrace that god and you'll be as free as you want. Are you trying to postulate that this god is the one that exists? The one that if you cherry pick all the best parts of every religion, that's the god that exists? This is your argument?
In fact, the thing Stephen Fry said there about that he who is without sin cast the first stone comes from a story in which Mary Magdalene, a prostitute, was being condemned, and Christ said, hold on a second, before we all start getting leery about Mary Magdalene, you lot are all perfect, are ya?
Yeah, you got that entire story wrong. It wasn't Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene wasn't a whore. It was just some woman who was caught in the act of adultery, and I'm about to prove that I know more about this story than any other fucking person out there. The priest brought the woman to Jesus in hopes that he would trip up and say that the woman needs to be stoned to death, even though he's been basically speaking up against that whole act this entire time he's been on the earth. But the priest fucked up. In Deuteronomy, the law says that the accused woman and accused man both have to be brought to the priests and judged. Also, the priests have to bring a witness to the adultery. The Bible says that Jesus wrote some stuff in the sand and said, those without sin cast the first stone. Now, at first glance, it looks like what Jesus is saying is, if you're not perfect, you have no right to judge other people. But what likely Jesus was writing was that rule in Deuteronomy that says you have to bring all those people along with the accused woman. Jesus was pointing out that they had sinned by lying to him and not following the law that says they have to bring these people. It has nothing to do with don't judge people if you have problems with yourself.
And now Fry says, how would that you apply that principle judiciously in contemporary justice? Well, I would say that when you are condemning murderers or paedophiles, to acknowledge within us all is the capacity for evil. So when you are judging a paedophile, when you are judging the worst kind of criminals imaginable, to acknowledge that the thing in them that has manifest this negativity is also within us.
I'm not going to argue that that's not important, but I'm a little bit worried about the examples you came up with, murderers and pedophiles. Do you really feel that you're capable of doing those things yourself? Because I'm not comfortable talking to you anymore.
Jill Bolte Taylor, the neurologist that had a brain hemorrhage in the left side of her brain, experienced consciousness in a different way. When the conscious, nagging, left-sided mind that sees everything in materialistic and macho, rationalistic terms abated, limitless energy became available to her. She noticed that, in fact, her consciousness was a system of filtration, and when the left brain was quieted, she felt herself as part of a complete consciousness.
So your story is a woman got brain damaged and lost all grip of reality. Fucking brilliant.
And no one can argue that, you know, when a lion eats a gazelle, it can't be very nice for the gazelle. But what you can argue is that in infinite space, that doesn't matter. Then the tiny fragment of reality that we experience through our materialistic senses, our eyes that only see a limited range of light, our ears that only hear a limited range of vibration, the things that we experience here, we can't make any absolute conclusions from them. No one knows if there is a God or if there isn't a God. No one knows which interpretation is closest.
Russell, need I remind you the name of your video is Does God Exist? Yes, and Stephen Fry proves it. Please get to the fucking point. And Stephen Fry fucking proves that God exists. What the fuck is going on?
We know that religion has long been used and continues to be used to justify the objectives of man, whether that's crazy terrorists in Paris or a great big Catholic church that was born of an alliance between an emperor and some radical rebel group.
Yes, religion is bad.
And the thing that Fry condemns, I also condemn, because that is materialistic, humanistic dogma. That's not spirituality. That's not mysticism.
Okay, now I'm really confused. Are you saying that Stephen Fry and you both agree that religion is not spirituality and mysticism, and therefore God exists because you agree on that point? Also, what the fuck is mysticism? How does that prove God exists? Can you prove mysticism exists?
That's not the acceptance that we are temporary, that our consciousness is connected to all consciousness.
Again, if you want to prove God exists, you have to prove that these terms you're using mean anything and that they're provable on their own.
Doesn't matter where you come from, whether it's Freudian analysis or Darwinianism or the analysis of the cosmos. From the quantum to the cosmic, there is an unknown force behind things.
Prove it. Jesus fucking Christ!
What's your attitude to people who say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual? I have to be I have to say, I get very worried by people using words like energy. Bad energy and good energy and positive energy and negative energy. All those things have no meaning to me, and I don't think they have any real meaning. But, if people want to grasp a crystal...
You can't judge all religion on the most stupid bits. That's like judging all football on the most stupid bits.
You gotta pick that cherry, throw the cherry out, get your cherry picking finger, flail it all about.
The question's not, is there a God? The question is there suffering? Yes, there is suffering, and what can we do about suffering? We can help one another, and we can love one another. Now, if you can do that through atheism, then do it through atheism.
It's actually a really good message, Russell. Good on you. You're not all terrible.
But a lot of people need to know that this is temporary.
Russell, literally every single person knows that. Don't go around telling everybody they're gonna die. You are going to piss people off.
That we are the temporary manifestation of something greater, something complete and whole, something timeless and spaceless and absolute.
Cool, are you gonna prove that? Sorry, what's that? What? He's not? Then what the fuck is this video about?
We are all connected to consciousness. We are all connected to one another. And to me, that sounds a little bit like God. That is some true news. Or is it true? What is the nature of truth? Is there any true news? Maybe this isn't even true news.
If by true you mean accurate, then no. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw and you'd like to see more Armoured media, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you absolutely love me, you can support me on Patreon, or if you have a passing affection for me, you can buy my t-shirt. Links in the description.